when it's in hold. So do take everything into consideration when you're flying from A to B. Checking it out before you check in on the John Guinn Travel Show on ukhealthradio.com. So what happens if it all goes wrong? In the old days, that would have meant calling your travel agent, but this time you've done it all yourself, so it's now down to you to find out. Things do and can go wrong. The weather can get bad. There may be a strike by airline cabin crew, the ground crew, the airport safety teams, the air traffic controllers, just about anybody if it's in France. So what are the usual problems faced by travellers, and if any, compensation is due? Well, we're going to talk about it in a moment, but remember, unless you're told otherwise by your airline, always check in on time. If you have to cancel and your ticket's not refundable, ask for the taxes back. These are only paid by the airline to the government if you actually fly. And taxes aren't the whole thing under taxes, because taxes includes all sorts of other bits and pieces, so don't expect the whole amount back. And the most important thing is, when you're complaining, is never say that you won't be flying with them again. If you're not coming back, why should the airline try their best to keep you when sorting out your problem? And it's also true that the more you spend, the better response to your complaint as well. Isn't that always the way? So probably the most common problem is not flying on your chosen flight because you've been bumped off. This is where the airline has overbooked the flight. This happens because airlines predict there's always going to be somebody who doesn't show up. Unfortunately, every now and again, everybody does show up. And if there aren't enough volunteers to miss the flight, then if you have the cheap ticket, then you could be first in line to be bumped off. So you're entitled to denied boarding compensation. So if you're bumped by a scheduled airline from an airport in the European Union, then you will be entitled to everything that the denied boarding compensation for the EU can give you. And this is set by factors such as the length of the flight, less than 3,500 kilometres, over 3,500 kilometres, the extension to your journey time. So, for example, if you're entitled to €75 if you're delayed by 2 hours and your flight is less than 3,500 kilometres, up to €300 for more than 3,500 kilometres, and a delay greater than 4 hours. And also, refuse any vouchers without also checking if you're entitled to cash compensation, because the airlines can't get round this EU rules. So if they try and pull a fast one, because maybe the airline representative isn't correctly trained, they may say, if you're taking these, then you're not entitled to do anything else. That's not the case. You can take the vouchers, and you can also say, right, you owe me this because of that, under EU 261. And so you can be entitled to a free hotel room and meals if required, and you can ask the airline to contact your destination to explain the delay. Do not agree to be put on a standby list. Demand to be placed on the next available flight. Standby list is the commonly used amongst airline staff to get cheap tickets. It's not the same as being placed on the next available flight. It means they can keep putting you back and back and back without having to worry about it. Never go on a standby list. Of course, Europe is different to America. In the USA, check-in staff will offer vouchers to volunteers. If not enough passengers come forward, then any bumped passenger will be entitled to cash compensation if the delay is more than an hour, which could be $200 or up to $400. But if possible, refuse the vouchers and ask for cash instead. Always ask for cash. So EU 261, if you're flying in Europe and you're not able to land at the destination due to bad weather, for example, then the airline should take actions to ensure that you get there as soon as possible. They should also cover any accommodation you have to book while you're waiting to complete your journey. And around the airports, there will be loads of posters about EU 261, and the airline staff should hand you leaflets with EU 261 on it as well. And you can get an app for your phone. It's easy to find out, and it's very good. Of course, when we come out of the EU, we won't be entitled to any of this. We have to remember that airline staff will not hunt for passengers, so make sure you make yourself known and ask for the information if it's not volunteered to you. Ryanair flew to had to land at the wrong Canary Island because of weather. They were under EU 261. They had to get some people to the right island, and they were willing and they were trying their best to do that. But so many passengers just left the airport in a panic that they couldn't be contacted. And then I start saying, well, Ryanair didn't look after us. I'm not a fan of Ryanair, but Ryanair were trying to look after them, but you disappeared, so it makes life difficult. So any problems, make sure you're known to the airline staff. It can be complicated to get the cash compensations because they try and get out of it using bits and pieces, but various court rules keep changing it, and it's harder and harder now for the airlines to get out of actually paying you. And if you're on a package holiday, which has been put together by a tour operator, and you've got even different protection for you as well. So if the flight is delayed, the operator must keep you up to date. And if it's for more than 3 hours, there should be like refreshments. 6 hours are entitled the passengers to full meals as appropriate for the time of day. But if you are delayed or cancelled, don't rush to the ticketing desk. Grab a seat, get yourself a coffee, and call them instead. Because the people at the desk are getting a lot of grief from people in the queue who are getting more and more angry the longer and longer they have to wait. Access the same systems of the calm people in the call centre you're ringing. So if you're calm, they're calm. It's a lot easier. And to reduce your chances of being bumped, it's only ever nearly happened to me once. But I had a lot ongoing journey, so I couldn't. So that saved me. But reserve your seat in advance by using the check-in or online seat selection. Print your own boarding pass, and don't check in late. Get in there early. Don't leave it until the last minute, because last minute people are the ones who are going to get bumped. And always remember to check the terms and conditions for any vouchers that you've been offered in compensation before you agree to accept them. Terms and conditions, you should always check them. And if you've been bumped from a flight, how did the experience go? Did you feel quite happy about it? Did you like all the extras you were given? Or did you feel that you were treated really badly by the airline? Please do share your experience at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. You can keep up to date with travel news and leave me a message at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. I kind of rushed through EU 261, so don't worry. If you go to facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show, look up the post for this show. There will be links, web addresses, because I only put one link on, obviously, with Facebook. There will be web addresses for more information on EU 261, so you can make sure you're fully up to date with what you can and can't get. And there'll also be a link to some organisations that can help you make a claim. So don't worry about if you didn't catch everything I just said about EU 261. It will be available at John Guinn Travel Show Facebook page. What about if the airline goes on strike? Well, if a UK-based airline union wants to hold a strike, they must give 7 days' notice for the strike dates. And this can only happen after a ballot has taken place, and the notice must be served within 28 days as a result of the ballot being published. On occasions such as this, the airline will probably cancel short-haul flights and concentrate on the long-haul flights. As short-haul flights are generally more frequent, it's easier to rebook passengers than it is for the long-haul ones. If you're concerned about your trip and you want to cancel your ticket so you can book with another airline, you may not receive a refund. And any refund percentage of your ticket would have been mentioned in the fare rules. However, you may be able to rebook on a different date for free, despite these rules, because of the strike and the airline's basically broken the rules themselves. The airline can break the rules, providing they allow you to compensate you, but you can't break the rules. If the airline cancels your flight, then the EU regulations come into play, which means you should receive a full refund for any used part of your ticket within 7 days, or be placed on a replacement flight as close to the original departure date as possible. But you could be out of pocket. If you're at the airport, then the delay compensation will come into effect, as I mentioned a few moments ago. If you packaged your own trip, then in occasions such as these, you may find out that you could lose a lot of money. If you booked a package holiday, then the tour operator have had to make it possible for the trip to continue, which means booking on another flight for the next day, rebooking the connecting flight. It's all down to them. An airline which cannot fly does not have to refund you for any other items booked with your trip, such as hotels and hire cars. If these companies do not refund you, you might have to go to your travel insurance. But if your trip was booked after the ballot was announced, then you may find that insurance won't pay out. You may find insurance won't pay out anyway because you bought cheap travel insurance and you didn't check the rules of your travel insurance before you handed over your money. But you can still try seeking compensation through the airline, through the courts, but there is a strike clause in the EU regulations. Again, it's a question of knowing what the terms and conditions are for everything. So again, I keep going on about this over and over again. Always read the terms and conditions. Always check out your insurance policy to make sure you're covered for what you want to be covered. Just don't tick it just to get the process, tick the box to get the process done. Read, understand, make notes, make sure you know exactly what you can and can't get. But don't forget, if you read the terms and conditions, you probably know more than the employer you're talking to. So it puts you in a very powerful position. My biggest fear, now I'm not scared of flying, is my luggage not showing up when I get to the other end. And as the fun and games when Heathrow's Terminal 5 opened up, it shows how easy it is for luggage to get misplaced. So how to reduce the chances of having a lonely wait at the luggage reclaim waiting in vain for your case? Well, first of all, you should ensure that your name and contact details, phone number, not your address, are on the outside and the inside of the luggage, so when it is found, it's easier for the airline to contact you. You should also make your luggage stand out so there's less chance of somebody else picking it up by mistake. I've seen this twice now at Luton Airport, and I've spoken to somebody at Luton Airport where this happened and they never got their case back. Do not go for odd shapes, though, because these could get caught in the maze of machinery that transport the bag around the airport. Always keep the luggage receipts safe. Again, back to Luton Airport, I've seen people who have lost their boarding pass, and on the back of their boarding pass is the receipts for their luggage. No receipts, no claim. So those little stickers they put on your passport with a barcode on it or your boarding pass are very, very important. Don't get rid of them until you've got your case back. So, if possible, don't go for tight connections. Give the airline a chance to get your luggage to the right place. Sometimes they say you can get through an airport in an hour and a half. Yeah, you probably can, but it doesn't mean your luggage will. So what do you do if it happens to you? Well, there's something called the Montreal Convention that requires that airlines pays up to £800 for lost or damaged luggage, and this claim must be declared within 21 days of the problem occurring. But that's lost or damaged. Delayed luggage is not covered, although many airlines voluntarily offer some sort of compensation. If you arrive at your destination and your luggage doesn't, register this immediately with the airline by completing a property irregularity report. And you need to be as detailed as possible to help the airline to find your case. Keep a copy of this report for your own records and ensure that you have given the airline the right contact number to contact you, and then you have the right number to chase them. And if you're required to get some clothes or other essential items, make sure you keep all receipts to assist you in any claim. Your travel insurance may help you. If it is late on your arrival, then you may be able to claim on your insurance, and the airline should deliver the case to you, to your hotel or wherever you're staying. If it's late on your return journey, you will not be able to claim, but the airline should ensure that the case is delivered to your home address. And if it is still delayed after 21 days, it is officially lost, and then you need a property irregularity report to make your claim for your travel insurance. It may actually be easier to use your travel insurance if your luggage is lost or delayed, but be aware of excess levels and a maximum level of payment set by your policy. Again, small print, check your insurance against what you can get from the airline. Because, of course, if you claim for the airline, there's no excess. With your insurance, there is. Again, small print, small print, small print. Well, we've reached the end of the show, and the eagle-eared of you may have noticed I didn't talk about frequent flyer clubs. That's because I talked far more than I planned to about the information I'm sharing today. I run out of time. But don't worry, next week's show will have more information on using the internet to book and research your flights, and I'll also be talking about frequent flyer clubs as well. I do hope you can join me next week on the Travel Show with John Guinn on ukhealthradio.com, where each week I'm checking it out before you check in.